Yeah, there was a power interruption, so there is no access for internet for some time. Yeah, we will continue our discussion. Please take these notes. Synthesis of IBX and DMP. Right. I'll give some examples for IBX oxidations. IBX are DMP oxidations. They are not acidic conditions. They are neutral conditions. So acid sensitive functional groups cannot be deprotected. Okay, so they can be saved. It is neutral condition. So what could be the product? It is just alcohol oxidation only, right? So this alcohol will be oxidized to aldehyde. This alcohol will be oxidized to aldehyde. Since it is a primary alcohol, this will be oxidized to aldehyde. I'll give the mechanism for this. Uh, I will explain with the DMP. Even with IBX also, it is a similar mechanism. I'll take a simple alcohol and I will explain. So this alcohol will attack an iodine. So one OAC group will be leaving. One OAC group will be leaving. So the product will be so we will be losing H plus from this and OAC, OAC, so OAC minus. We will also have a proton like this, so it is similar to DMSO oxidations. It is similar to DMSO oxidation. So this OAC minus, which is a leaving group from the first step, now we'll take this proton. So this hydrogen carbon bonding electrons will be pushed to carbon oxygen double bond generation. Then this iodine oxygen bond will be pushed towards iodine. So one more OAC group will be leaving. One more OAC group will be leaving. Okay. So the product will be OAC plus the OAC which is leaving now, and then alkyl. Of course, you don't need to write this, but we can write the carbonyl. We can write the carbonyl. So the oxidation will be like DMSO oxidations. Meanwhile, you can answer these problems. IBX, DMSO, 70 degrees centigrade, 5 hours. What could be the product? So you write this answer, okay? It is just 2 hydroxy, 2 alcohols. So both of them will be oxidized using IBX. The next problem, what we can see is we have an aldehyde or ketone already in the functional group, and if we oxidize this with IBX, it is not alcohol oxidation, but a carbonyl is already there, and we are again oxidizing with IBX. Then what happens? This oxidation can be used to generate alpha beta unsaturated carbonyls. That means there will be a double bond formation in conjugation with the carbonyl. Okay, so IBX oxidation can be used if we use excess amount of IBX, then that can be used for the generation of alpha beta unsaturated double bond. So this is used for alpha beta unsaturated carbonyls from carbonyls. So we can have alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde or ketone if we oxidize the aldehyde with IBX. What is the product in the next reaction? There is a selectivity. We have both ketone and aldehyde. So what is the selective? Um So what is the selectivity in this example? Okay, so I have clearly drawn here. There is no all the carbons next to ketone were put in one place, whereas I have given enough space for a formation of double bond next to aldehyde. So it means that aldehydes being more reactive, so IBX will generate a double bond next to aldehyde group. Okay, next to aldehyde. So if you have both aldehyde and ketone in a molecule, so IBX will generate a double bond preferentially next to aldehyde position. Okay, preferentially next to aldehyde position. So this example, both alcohols will be oxidized to ketones. Okay, so we will get 1, 2 diketone. Yeah, Shiva, is there any doubt for you?
Yes, sir. Sorry for the disturbance.
Okay.
Sir, is there any selectivity in alcohol, sir?
No, there is no selectivity. So in oxidations, we will oxidize primary alcohols to aldehydes. We can oxidize secondary alcohols to ketones. But if there is any
Sir,
differentiation like sterical crowding, then it may be problem.
yes. Sir, is a allylic alcohol and primary or secondary alcohol is preferentially attacks at allylic alcohol, right, sir?
I don't know, man. If I come across the problem, I can tell you. But I did not write any such variations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't think that there will be any differentiation between primary alcohol and secondary alcohol or allylic alcohol.
Yes.
So all alcohols will be oxidized to carbonyls.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
If there is any particular problem, you post in the group, I'll answer.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So I'm changing it. Right. Next, we will see some peroxide, peracid oxidations. So those are also again an important oxidations. Epoxide formation. There are many variations for epoxide formation, but for the beginning, what we can see, we can first look at the epoxidation of double bonds. This is called epoxide, a 3-membered ring with 1 oxygen and 2 carbons. It is called epoxide. Our IUPAC nomenclature is oxirane. Oxirane, it is for the IUPAC nomenclature of heterocyclic systems. Okay. So how do we generate epoxide? Okay, so first we will see some of the reagents used for this epoxidation, and then we can work out some examples. Right. So what are the general reagents used for this reagent oxidation? These are peracids. Peracids. If we have 1 oxygen extra in carboxylic acids, these are called peracids. These are called peracids. Or we can use some hydrogen peroxide or alkyl hydrogen peroxide reagents. So we can use these 2 types of reagents, peracids and hydrogen peroxide or alkyl peroxide reagents for oxidizing a double bond to epoxide. So this is alkene. So a double bond can be epoxidized using peracids or alkyl and hydrogen peroxides. I'll give some examples, and then most important one is metachloroperbenzoic acid or MCPBA. How do we prepare this? We take metachlorobenzoic acid, and when we oxidize it with sodium hydrogen peroxide, then this will be oxidized to metachloroperbenzoic acid. In short, we used to say MCPBA. Small m represents meta, then chloro per benzoic acid. This is the mostly used method, mostly used reagent, metachloroperbenzoic acid. So if we oxidize any carboxylic acid with hydrogen peroxide or alkyl peroxides or sodium peroxide, sodium hydrogen peroxide, then carboxylic acid will be oxidized to carboxylic acid. So if we have one oxygen extra, it is called per benzoic. Normally it is benzoic acid. Since one oxygen is extra, it is per benzoic acid. It is formic acid. Formic acid can be oxidized to performic acid using hydrogen peroxide itself. Okay, so when we oxidize it, what we get performic acid. Of course, the byproduct will be one oxygen from hydrogen peroxide will be given to carboxylic acid. So this is performic acid. So these per acids or hydrogen peroxide reagents are used for oxidizing an alkene to epoxides. When we have this is trifluoroacetic anhydride. When we oxidize trifluoroacetic anhydride with hydrogen peroxide, what we get is trifluoroacetic trifluoroperacetic acid. Trifluoroperacetic acid. But this is highest oxidizing agent. That means it is the most strongest oxidizing agent per acid. Okay, but it is a carcinogenic reagent. What is carcinogenic? Reagents which can cause cancer are called carcinogenic. Reagents which can cause cancer, they are called carcinogenic reagents. So better avoid these type of reagents, right? So again, it is also less stable. Whenever we want, we need to prepare it freshly, right? So yeah, trifluoroperacetic acid is the strongest per acid. Trifluoroacetic acid is the strongest per acid. If other reagents don't work for epoxidation, then only we will go for trifluoroacetic acid. Otherwise, normally we don't use this. I'll give one more example, and then we will see some examples for epoxidations. If two carboxylic acids are there on a benzene ring, 1,2 benzene dicarboxylic acid, it is called phthalic acid. It is called phthalic acid. When we oxidize, this is phthalic anhydride. Phthalic anhydride. When we oxidize phthalic anhydride with the hydrogen peroxide in presence of some magnesium salt, then one of the carboxylic acid will be oxidized to peracid. One of the carboxylic acid will be oxidized to peracid. The other carboxylic acid will be as it is. So it will be just a magnesium salt. So this is a carboxylate ion. This is a carboxylate ion. This is a percarboxylic acid. So it is called magnesium salt of mono because only one carboxylic acid is existing as peracid. Mono perphthalic acid. In short, we can say MMPA. MMPA. So magnesium salt of monoperphthalic acid. Right, I'm changing this. How do we explain the mechanism of epoxidation? It is called butterfly mechanism because the intermediate step will look like a butterfly. Right, I'll explain this. If we have an alkene, then we can oxidize it with a peracid. We can oxidize it with a peracid. Then this oxygen, it will be transferred to double bond. Okay, this oxygen. So hydrogen will be shifting to carboxylic acid. When we look at the bond transformations, one of the double bond breaks and it generates a bond with oxygen. Since it is gaining electrons, this proton will be shifted to carbonyl oxygen. Then this bond will be pushed to generate a carbon oxygen double bond this side. Since it is generating a double bond, we can push this bond towards this side so that it generates an epoxide. It generates an epoxide plus ROH. So peracid will transfer one of its oxygen to the double bond, so it generates epoxide, and peracid becomes carboxylic acid. Peracid becomes carboxylic acid. Since it looks like a butterfly, we will call it as butterfly mechanism. We will call it as butterfly mechanism. And not only that, it is called as electrophilic epoxidation. It is called as electrophilic epoxidation. because the per acids are electrophilic in nature. So the epoxidation using per acids, it is called electrophilic epoxidations, and it is a stereospecific syn addition. Stereospecific syn addition. So it interacts the double bond with the double bond from a less crowded site or less sterically crowded phase. So the intermediate looks like a butterfly, so that is why we used to say it is a butterfly mechanism. And all per acids are electrophilic in nature. So the epoxidation using per acids, it is called electrophilic epoxidation. When we say it is an electrophilic epoxidation, we can easily say double bond must be electron rich system. So if we have two different double bonds, more electron rich double bond will undergo epoxidation easily compared to other. Then I'll give reactivity order. Trifluoroperoacetic acid is the strongest epoxidizing agent or strongest per acid. Then MCPBA is the strongest acid, so generally we use MCPBA. Then performic acid is the strongest. Then peracetic acid is the strongest. Then hydrogen peroxide, and finally tertiary butyl hydrogen peroxide. Tertiary butyl hydrogen peroxide, TBHP. Tertiary butyl hydrogen peroxide. When we look at the double bonds, more electron rich double bonds are more reactive. More electron rich double bonds are more reactive. So a tetra substituted double bond will undergo epoxidation easily compared to a tri substituted double bond. A tri substituted double bond can undergo epoxidation easily when compared to a di-substituted double bond. If it is a cis or trans, it doesn't matter for epoxidation. Of course, there may be a little bit sterical uh, repulsions, but both equally undergo epoxidation. Then finally, a mono-substituted double bond. So in order to explain the selectivity, see this example best suits our discussion. When we oxidize this dialkene with MCPBA, which double bond will undergo oxidation? See, this is a di-substituted alkene, this is a tri-substituted alkene, and not to, so it is less electron rich compared to this one. Okay, So more substituted double bond will be more electron rich. So this double bond will undergo epoxidation easily compared to this. So when we use stoichiometric equivalents of MCPBA, that means 1:1 equivalent. So the internal double bond or more substituted double bond will only undergo epoxidation compared to undisturbing the less substituted double bond. I'll give you one more example. This cyclohexene, because the two methyl groups are above the plane, when we oxidize it with MCPBA, because above the plane is sterically crowded, what we can get is an epoxide below the plane, an epoxide below the plane, because there are two methyl groups in the above the plane. They'll create sterical crowding for the MCPBA. So MCPBA cannot approach the double bond from above the plane. So it will approach the double bond from below the plane. So it can transfer the epoxide from below the plane. This is a simple explanation, but we can also draw the intermediate transition state, how epoxide generation takes place. Then we can easily appreciate the subject. The six-membered alkene transition state can be drawn like this. So there is a bond 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these two methyl groups, yeah, here is the one, here is the one. So from this phase, it is difficult. It is sterically hindered phase. Whereas this phase, yes, no steric. From this phase, there is no sterical hindrance. From this phase, we have sterically we have sterical crowding or sterical repulsions from this. So from this phase, it is not possible, whereas this phase, yes, it is sterically free. So when we treat this fellow with MCPBA, the epoxidation takes place from below the plane. To just explain this, I'm drawing like this, okay? We can have selectivity in MCPBA reactions. There are many examples for explaining the selectivity in epoxidation reactions. Okay, so we will see some of these examples. Shall I change this page? Yes, please take a snapshot. Yeah, see, how do we explain selectivity and stereochemistry of the epoxidations? First, we will take this simple example. This is again a Narbonne structures. If we have this double bond and when we oxidize it with MCPBA, then what will be the product, whether it is an exo epoxide or endo epoxide? Exo means above the plane, endo means below the plane. When you want to expect the product, then we need to consider the spherical crowding around this double bond. Then there are two possibilities. One is above the plane for exo epoxidation. Another one is from below the plane for endo epoxidation. Then when we look at the spherical crowding around this double bond, first this bridge head, it will have two hydrogens. One hydrogen will be like this. So when we want to epoxidize it from above the plane, then we will experience spherical crowding with this hydrogen. Okay, right. So from above the plane, there is a spherical crowding with hydrogen. When we look at below the plane epoxidation, that is endo epoxidation, we can have spherical crowding with these hydrogens. Since it is a double bond, the hydrogen is in the plane itself, so we don't see any spherical crowding from these hydrogens. So I can explain other hydrogens also. They are like this. They are above the plane, but no way concerned to this. Okay, right? They are away from this double bond. But the below the plane hydrogens, so that means endo hydrogens, they are exactly in the parallel plane if we want to approach this double bond from the below the plane. So that means there is only one hydrogen which is causing spherical repulsion or spherical crowding for the exo epoxidation, whereas there are two hydrogens which are giving spherical repulsions if we want to have endo epoxidation. So one is less, one hydrogen can create less spherical crowding compared to two hydrogens. So what we can get is exo epoxidation. What we can get is exo epoxidation. That means epoxide in the above the plane, exo epoxide. Okay, we can change this example by just putting 2 methyl